Hi there and welcome back to my channel. This is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer. This video is all about characters, my favourite characters in books I read from April, May and June. Every 3 months I'll do a similar video and I'll mention my favourite characters from books I read only in those 3 months. And then at the end of the year I'll do a video on my favourite characters from books I read for the whole year. I haven't decided yet if I'll do 1, 2 and 3, like give awards to my favourite characters. I've not decided that yet. But I think at the moment, I'm just leaning towards just talking about my favourite characters for the whole year in that last video. But anyway, in this video, it's my favourite characters from books I read in April, May and June. Let's get started with the first characters. The first characters I want to talk about are Robin and Cormoran from the book The Cuckoo's Calling, written by Robert Galbraith. These two characters I enjoyed so much. They're so well written, they're well created, well developed, have just great rounding in the books on both characters. First off, Robin. Robin is so engaging as a character. When she's introduced in the story, you wonder how long she'll be there for. I didn't think she'd be there for the whole story, but she was. I'm so glad for that because during this whole story, you get to understand more about her. She grows as a character so much, grows in confidence. You get to see her really come alive when she's working for and with Cormoran. She starts out in the book as a temporary secretary/receptionist, but Cormoran soon realizes she's much more than that. She has great skills, she's super intelligent, she has great observation, understands human nature a lot. And the best thing about Robin though is not all those things, but it's how she interacts with Cormoran as a person. She understands straight away that Cormoran is living in his workplace, he's living in his office. She understands that, but she doesn't point it out. She's very careful about how she interacts with her new boss. Then she learns more things about him. And then she very carefully just brings up the right things at the right time. She's not pushy, she's not nosy, doesn't gossip. And all those things about her, the way she's carefully trying to get to know Cormoran better and carefully just navigating that new friendship between them. It all makes for an interesting and engaging character. She feels so real. She's wonderful in this story. And Cormoran is also a great character. In this book, people call him by his surname Strike. And as a character, he's perfect. He was ex-army and he got his leg blown off in the war and now he's a PI. But his life is in turmoil. When we first meet him, he's basically homeless. He's kicked out of an apartment by his fiancée. He's living in his office. He's struggling for money. He just doesn't know how he's going to make ends meet. It just seems like when Robin starts to work for him, things turn around. Very coincidental though in that way. But it feels like things do get better when Robin is in his life. And I just like the way he also just navigates this new kind of friendship, this new relationship with Robin. You know, it's boss and employee. But as the book goes on, it also feels like friends. And I like that shift. It's not an instant shift, it's very gradual. And it's both characters kind of forcing that at the same time. But not forcing it as in they're combating or, you know, one's trying to force it on the other. It's very mutual and it happens slowly. But they're both navigating and trying to lean towards being friends, I think, in the story. And I like how that comes about. It feels so natural in the book. It makes both characters feel so real. It's kind of like two people just meeting in the workplace in one day. And they're strangers at first, and they just start chatting, getting to know each other, and they slowly become friends. That's what it feels like in this story. And if you can imagine that, you can imagine just getting to know those people in the workplace, you know, slowly learning about what they like and dislike, just navigating what you can talk about, you know, what's going to anger them maybe, or what's going to excite them, that sort of thing. That's what it feels like in this story. And it's very carefully and artfully done in the book. Next, I want to talk about Jimmy and Lena, and I met both of them in the book The Detainee, written by Peter Liney. Both characters are wonderful. There are other great characters in this book as well, but these two characters I think are my favourites. First off, let's talk about Jimmy. Jimmy is an underdog, and I have a soft spot for underdogs in books. Jimmy's also an inventor. He's curious. He likes tinkering with things. He likes making things. But his imagination is so great in this story as well. Jimmy takes broken things and he repairs them. He takes components of things and makes something new. He does it with an eagerness and a childlike wonder, and just the way he shuts out the rest of the world to do it. I'm kind of like that when I read books. When I read books, I can shut out the whole world. Things can go on around me, noises, things like that, and I don't hear them. That's what Jimmy reminds me of in this story. And I like him as a character in this book. He's very well written. Apart from being an inventor and being curious and making things, he's a great character for other reasons. He's loyal, he's caring, he's got a great deep personality. He feels like a real person in the story. A great character in this book. And then Lena in this story. Lena is quite different and unique in this book. Lena's blind, but she was on this island in this book from her teenage years, I think, and she escaped. She escaped a terrible situation, and then she struggled to survive on the island at first, but then she got to understand kind of this underground cave system, if you will, and she eked out an existence, a good existence, and she's still surviving. And I think when we meet her in the story, she may be in her mid to late 20s. She may have been there for 10 years or so, living by herself, struggling and learning to survive without sight in a dangerous place. And it makes you think straight away, she's courageous, she's brave, she's clever, she's cunning. Makes you think all those things about her. Then later on, we learn more. She's a bit lonely sometimes, and she just loves having people around her. She's caring. She thinks about other people all the time when she meets them. At the start, she's distrustful of other people, but she gradually learns to like them and welcome them. There are great changes for the character in the story, great growth and development. I liked Lena so much as a character, and in the book, The Detainee, she was wonderful. She kind of suited that book so well. And I think the author just created her so carefully with great compassion, but also didn't make her about her blindness. The author made her feel like a real person and a capable person, despite the fact she can't see. The author just gave her such agency in the story. Next, I want to talk about Thimble, and I met Thimble in Legends and Lattes, written by Travis Baldree. Thimble is a great character in this book, amazing, and Thimble is a species called ratkin. And I don't know what it is about this species ratkin, but in another book by the same author, one of my favourite characters was the same species. In this book, when you first meet Thimble, you can't help but wonder, is he going to be a big character in the story? And you hope that he is. Well, I hoped anyway, because he's engaging straight away. He comes in and he's quiet and he's shy, he's reserved, even timid. And then slowly he's there over many scenes, and then here and there people understand that he's clever. People understand he's got great ideas. People understand how skilled he is as a baker. And gradually he comes out of himself and even speaks a few words here and there. But right through the story, you can't help but just get behind Thimble. You want to kind of give Thimble a big hug and tell him everything's going to be okay. You're so clever, you're so capable, you're so strong, and you create these baked treats and baked goods that are out of this world. So Thimble as a character just invites you to really empathize with him and really get behind him and adopt him even as a character. He's just brilliant, I think, in this book. I want books about Thimble. I want a book where it's all about Thimble, about his life. More than one book. I want many books about him. Even fan fiction. Somebody write fan fiction about Thimble, because Thimble is just wonderful in my view. Next, I want to talk about Emmy. And I met Emmy in a book called Invisible, written by James Patterson and David Ellis. What struck me about this character is her strength, her inner strength, her guts, determination, her unwillingness to back down, basically. She combats her superiors in the FBI. She approaches them time and time again to convince them she's right about something, and they keep saying she's wrong, she's crazy, doesn't know what she's talking about. They keep shooting her down, but she keeps going back. She eventually convinces them that she's right. But what just struck me about this character is how strong she is in that struggle. It really makes you engage with Emmy in the book. That first part of the book where she thinks she's right and nobody else thinks she is. Even people she knows, her friends, don't believe her. But she keeps struggling on, she keeps battling, she convinces them, and they find out she's right. It strikes you just straight away how intuitive she is as a character, how clever, but it also brings a realness into the story because she just feels like a real person because of that struggle. Because sometimes in books, things happen too easily for people, but in this book, it doesn't happen easy for her at all. It seems like she struggles through many parts in the story, and through many parts of the story, she has people just want to see her fail even, and that makes it seem all the more real in this book. I enjoyed this character so much in the book. In this book, she has great growth, great development, a great character choice, a great character creation, in my view, in a story like this. I just think Emmy is one of the best protagonists I've read in like a mystery thriller this year so far. Now I want to talk about Simon, who I first met in City of Bones, written by Cassandra Clare, but he's also in City of Ashes and City of Glass. Simon as a character construct is brilliant. His storyline, his growth, his development is so well done in all three books. So much happens to him. For one character, he has so many bad things that happen to him, you just wonder, is the author picking on him at all? It just feels like that sometimes. As a character, through all the changes that go through his storyline in all three books, the author just continues that storyline so carefully. Everything just matches so perfectly and makes sense. At no point are there any holes in his storyline or his character. And I think that's carefully done and cleverly done. I like the way, even though bad things happen to him in the story, I like that deep down, when you boil things down, his personality down, who he is down in the books, he's still the Simon that we had from when we first met him in book 1. He's still as loyal to his friends. He's still clever. He still remains optimistic, even though he has terrible things happening to him. Deep down, he has this inherent optimism, and it just remains in his character. And you can just imagine that with things that happen to him, that optimism just maybe be depleted or vanish at some stage, but it doesn't. So that strength, that inner strength that he has, just kind of makes you get behind Simon in a way. You engage with him because of that. You feel for him as well because of things that happen to him in his storyline. But I just think he's one of the standout characters in that whole trilogy. And he's a character that I want to see more of. I think he's a great character. He feels almost like a perfect character for modern urban fantasy. And that's my view anyway. So even though these books in general are not the best books, my favourite books, I think Simon as a character is standout and outstanding. The last character I want to talk about is Fletcher, and I first met Fletcher in The Body in the Bookstore, written by Ali Alexander. This book is set in a small town, and Fletcher suits that small town setting very well. What I like about Fletcher the most, though, is his quirkiness. And his quirk is that he loves Sherlock Holmes. He loves everything about Sherlock Holmes. And he knows everything about Sherlock Holmes as well. And in these books, I think there's 2 books in the series so far, at different times, he'll say things about Sherlock Holmes and he'll mention things, sometimes at the wrong time, but that's part of his charm, I think. He's a character, I think, that people can relate to and people can imagine being friends with or having people in their lives that are like Fletcher. He's a character that's loyal, a character that seems very supportive of other characters in the story. He has a great kind of level personality as well in the story. Doesn't get extreme emotions going on in the book with him. So he's very level, he's very supportive, he's very loyal, and with that quirk of him just loving Sherlock Holmes and just almost being like a Sherlock Holmes fanboy basically in the series. I can't wait to see what's yet to come for Fletcher in that Cozy Mystery series. I wonder if he'll get involved in a mystery in more detail. Whether he'll get involved in Sherlock Holmes as a theme or be involved in a book maybe. That'd be fun, I think, to bring Fletcher more into the forefront than he already is in a book. So for me, a great character in an interesting series and suits that small town setting so well. There you have a few characters I adored reading during April, May and June. Who knows what characters I'll adore in the next 3 months? I don't know, but I'm sure there'll be characters that I find brilliant. On my channel, I review books of all different genres. Check out my channel and subscribe. On the screen now is a link to another video for a book I'm sure you'll enjoy.